Killing Floor 2 is the highly anticipated sequel to the original very successful Killing Floor, and in this review, I really couldn't be more excited to tell you guys all how I feel about this amazing game. I think one of the major things that does impress me the most about Killing Floor 2 is the length Tripwire went to get this game to look and feel just right. You can actually look up some of the developer diaries right here on YouTube. They're really interesting, but just running the game at some ridiculous high frame rate so that things like Z time looked and felt about as perfect as it could possibly feel. You know, bringing in a weapons expert to do all of their amazing gun handling and reload animations for a game where you're just killing waves of monsters. They really went the extra mile in Killing Floor 2, and for that, I'm pretty impressed. If you've watched a lot of my reviews before, you know usually we get them visuals, them graphics out of the way first, and this review is going to be no different. I am playing, of course, the PC version of Killing Floor 2. The game is also available on PlayStation 4, with the PlayStation 4 Pro version having some benefits that the OG PlayStation 4 can't offer you. Sorry, that's just the way it is. I don't know what to tell you. Upgrade to the PlayStation 4 Pro, or maybe upgrade your PC or something. That's all I can say. But make no mistake, the best place to play this game was, is, and always will be the PC version. I mean, that's how it's going to be, with mod support and some settings and stuff that you really can't get in the console version. I can't make it any more simple than that. All versions of the game, from what I've seen, are absolutely beautiful, but the PC version, like I said, some extra options that a console simply can't give you. I think one effect that a lot of people seem to like, not so much myself, but that's more so for performance reasons, are the Nvidia flex effects with the gore in the game. These can be very performance heavy. They can be performance killers depending on your setup and everything that's happening on screen. But I'd be lying if I said that at times it doesn't have its moments of pure awesomeness with the flex effects on, everything set to high or ultra, HBAO plus, and things like real-time reflections. All of this just makes Killing Floor a simple but beautiful shooter. It's really hard for me to nitpick in the visuals department for Killing Floor 2, but I will say, and many others would probably agree, but this game desperately, very desperately needs a better AA solution. Anti-aliasing for this game is not very good. I don't bother turning FXAA on in the settings because, like a lot of other games, I notice little to no difference. What you get with something like FXAA is little to no performance cost, but you also get little to no difference with that. It just doesn't really do anything for me. But I think overall, I am impressed, given that this is an Unreal Engine game, and Tripwire, they've made enough modifications to the engine that it does separate itself from a lot of the other Unreal Engine titles. It's definitely one of the best looking and one of the most demanding titles that you can play on, PC or the PlayStation 4. In terms of the gameplay, Killing Floor 2 is a Z killing shooter where you and 5 other teammates fight wave after wave in hopes to stay alive. On the surface, it seems kind of simple, but on higher difficulties, working together with teammates and knowing all of the different enemy types and what they're capable of is key to success. Whether you're talking about an Alpha Clot giving buffs to all of the Zeds around him, the Screaming Siren that will destroy your armor faster than you can say ice cream, or the absolutely punishing attacks of the Flesh Pound and the Scrake, Killing Floor 2 does not play nice. Many of you, like me, will find the crawlers to be one of the biggest pains in the ass in all of gaming. Crawlers can pile up on you quickly, and if you back yourself into a corner, you're lunch. Knowing the enemies and working with those around you in co-op are just a couple of things that you need to know. Like any good shooter, learning the maps and where you need to run when shit hits the fan, and it will, is also key to success. Even after you've completed all of the waves in a round, you'll be faced with 2 bosses, the Patriarch and Hans. It's all random, so don't even bother guessing when you go to buy your weapons at the trader. Depending on when you watch this review, there may be a 3rd boss and possibly even 1 or 2 more enemy types. Both Hans and the Patriarch, like any good boss, have their strength and their weakness, but I find the Patriarch to have more devastating attacks, and he's a little bit easier to take down. Both of the bosses can actually one-shot you, especially on the higher difficulties, but my friends and I usually find that Hans is a little bit more of the bullet sponge over the Patriarch, but still having some beastly attacks of his own. How is it that you and your friends will come to deal with all of this madness? With different perks to configure any way you like. You have to find a setup that best suits you, your skills, and what would work best with the people you'll be playing with. There are 10 of these: the Zerker, Commando, Support, Medic, Demolitionist, Firebug, Gunslinger, Sharpshooter, SWAT, and Survivalist. Each of these perks has its own job, its own abilities, and own unique weapons that all fit well within the game. Perks like the Zerker and SWAT can be very, very tanky, so you'll want to prioritize those. The Zerker in particular can usually take a lot more damage than some of the other perks, so if you have a medic on your team, which everyone should, the medic will want to prioritize, guys like Zerker and guys like SWAT and make sure that they stay alive above everyone else, but still keeping your other teammates healed and alive. Wherever possible, though, try and prioritize that Zerker as much as possible. This is a team-based game, and not to be cliche, but there is no I in team. The higher difficulties in this game will kick your ass. You are going to die in Killing Floor 2. In fact, you're probably going to die a lot. It's part of the learning process. It's part of the fun. However, there is nothing more frustrating in this game than being stuck with randoms and players that want a lone wolf and not do their job. At times, as an example, you'll find a medic that instead of healing and protecting his teammates and prioritizing guys like the Zerker, he'll equip RPGs and try to get all the kills. Obviously, I find things like that to be a very slow brain move on the part of the player, and it's why I can't stress enough that wherever possible, when possible, you should be trying to play Killing Floor 2 with nothing but your friends. So what isn't there to love about the gameplay in Killing Floor 2? It has the most advanced gore system seen in a game to date. The gore is why you've come to play, coupled with some of the best gun handling, 12 very unique maps, some of the best team play in any shooter, and the very best reload animations in any game ever. And you guys know how I feel about reload animations. Killing Floor 2 just isn't capable of disappointing even the most casual of shooter fans. Well, FTL, are you gonna tell us about that story? There isn't much of a story to speak of. We'll just say that some shit went down that shouldn't have went down, some other shit went down, experiments gone wrong, and the waves of enemies are the result. That's the only story that you need to know in Killing Floor 2. On the sound front, it's about what you would expect from a developer that I feel went the extra mile to really make, especially the guns look, feel, and sound amazing. It's a real treat if you have a decent sound setup. I suppose I'd like to say that most of the weapons sound really good. I think they sound how they should, which is often great, where others leave a little something to be desired. All of the different enemy types have their own unique sounds. Learning these is also a plus. The bloat will actually tear ass occasionally from time to time during battle, during being shot by your guns, and you just kind of think to yourself, man, what a fucking slob. And much like the original Killing Floor, the music in the game is probably a metalhead's dream. I don't much care for it, and after the first couple of months, I did end up turning it off and found it to be more annoying than anything else. The music does fit the game very, very well. It's just not for me, and I found that I was more of a help to my teammates without playing any music from the game. At this point, many may be asking, FTL, man, are you just going to gloat about this game? Are you just going to hype it up and be biased? I'm not going to lie. I do love this game. I do love the original game. I do like these games a lot, and there is a lot of bias there, but I do have some complaints. I do have some. Some are probably minor. I think most of them are pretty minor, but I actually do have some complaints about Killing Floor 2. I gotta give them a lot of credit. Tripwire has definitely come a long way since the game originally released in early access in the spring of 2015. Most of the changes in my opinion, have been for the better, some not so much, and others just come off as lazy. Some of the gun sounds in particular have improved greatly over time, and in my opinion, some not so much. For example, one of my favorite guns is the bullpup for the commando perk, and I think that gun used to sound a lot better. I also don't like that Tripwire wasted resources with a competitive mode for this game. Yes, there is a competitive mode, and I don't think many people are playing this. If the Steam forums are anything to go by, there seems to be a lot more complaints than there is praise, and it's just not something I have much interest in playing in a game like Killing Floor. I don't know what else to say. I guess I just feel like they could have and should have put that time and effort into a few more maps, improving sounds, improving animations, and making performance tweaks in Killing Floor 2 as opposed to wasting a lot of resources on a mode that you weren't really sure about. They took a risk, and in my opinion, I don't think it works well in this game. My final complaint actually comes in the form of the final perk that Tripwire has chosen for this game. The survivalist class just doesn't really fit into Killing Floor. It has no real place. Its only purpose is to mix and match abilities from other perks. And on paper, that might sound really good, like, oh my god, I'm about to take all of the best abilities from some of these other perks and throw it all into one and have this godlike class. That's not really how it's going to work, because you get a new ability at 5, level 10, level 15, level 20, and level 25. Maybe at some point, if they bump it up and we can get like another level at 30 and another level at 35 or something, then maybe the survivalist class could be truly amazing, truly godlike, and possibly even OP. Maybe that's why they're rolling with it this way. I don't know, but I really wish we could have got the very hinted at martial artist that was rumored for so long. Tripwire canceled and claimed things like, sometimes in game development, what you really want to happen just isn't possible and doesn't work out the way you had hoped. We're sure fans will like the perk that we've chose for this game. And I gotta tell you, Tripwire, I'm not really happy about it, and I'm gonna have little interest in leveling that up unless things change in terms of how many levels we actually have. So that's my take on complaints. Like, those are my complaints. Minor, but I think the last one is pretty major. I do think that was pretty lazy on the part of Tripwire. That survivalist perk it doesn't sound all that amazing to me. With Killing Floor 2, I have put over 400 hours into this game. I paid $30 for it day one, early access, myself and 4 or 5 other friends, and we just never looked back. I think for $30, right, 400 hours is crazy value. I got my money and then some, especially for those of you that like to do the dollar per hour kind of thing. I mean, it's just ridiculous value, but it's one of my most played games on Steam. It's one of my most played games of all time. It's also difficult to say that this game is for anyone and everyone. I think, like most games, it does become a little repetitive, and it's all in whether or not you enjoy doing some of those repetitive things over and over with your friends. And I like to think I'm pretty fair with my review. Saying something is repetitive isn't always a knock, a negative on a game, and it's definitely something that you'll hear me say in the future with many other games. I'm sure about that. I say if you enjoy shooting things, a lot of things, prefer to have a lot of gore and a lot of other awesomeness in your first-person games, Killing Floor 2 is a must-buy at any price. It's fun, it's over the top and silly at times, and I, for one, think it's Tripwire's best game to date.
That's kind of cool.
Hurry up.
You need ammo or you got it?
That armor looks terrible.
Holy shit.